live with the news where you live. 8 News at 6 starts now.
You're watching 8 News at 6. I'm Deanna Albritton.
I'm Eric Phillips. Tonight, 8 News is taking action, uncovering how would-be contractors repeatedly make promises of repairs but don't pull through.
The end result, leaving Central Virginians in a hole, and it's a problem our Taking Action team has been investigating since May.
And tonight, Deanna and I will share the personal stories of 2 widowed men with similar problems, costing them more than $20,000 combined. Now, while their journeys are different, their warning for others is the same.
Asphalt just lifts up off the pavement.
Peeling right up with a shovel.
See?
Uneven asphalt. And the Chesterfield yard peppered with asphalt chunks 89-year-old Horace Polston wasn't able to remove.
It's coming apart, and you can see it here.
This is what greeted Polston's daughter in April when she arrived for her mother's funeral. Horace's wife of 70 years. Wendy Booker's text messages show days of back and forth with a man named Brian Talton to fix work her father paid for in full, $9,500.
He reached out to us and said, there's been some negative comments about me. I will do what's necessary to clean this up. And we said, great. When can you come by? And we had agreed on a Friday morning date at 9 o'clock. He did not come Friday morning at 9 o'clock. So at 9:30, I decided to report it to the police department. I would say always be wary of anyone who pulls up in your driveway and knocks on your door.
Wendy thought her father knew what to look out for too. In Hanover, Tim Hoffler also knew door-knocking contractors could be a red flag, which is why he went with a referral for the older Hanover home he purchased after his wife passed away.
The kitchen was first because it was kind of in disrepair. The floor's coming apart. Cabinets were old, the dishwasher had stopped working, the stove handle had fallen off,
After asking around, Hoffler narrowed down 3 referrals to 1, Patrick Farley.
I had no reason to believe he wouldn't do the job for me. I knew he was able.
The two started texting back and forth in September of 2023, mapping out a plan. And in January of 2024, Hoffler wrote Farley a check for nearly $13,000.
It seemed fair, so I gave him the money for the materials.
In preparation for a new kitchen, Hoffler bought a new stove and gave away furniture. But in late September, the text messages stopped.
And at that point, I relatively lost my cool, called him up. I said, listen, buddy, you stole my money.
By October, when he reached out to us, the appliances he ordered still in his kitchen. He claims Farley never came back to complete the job. Around the time of our interview, Hoffler's legal team sent Farley a letter requesting Farley return $11,000. Police tell us a demand letter like this is often necessary to get the ball rolling on a criminal investigation. With no response, the Hanover County Sheriff's Office is now investigating Hoffler's case and Farley's connection to 2 other cases in Hanover and Chesterfield. But police tell us investigating cases like these, let alone filing charges when necessary, can be difficult.
And even if there are charges and convictions, police see unscrupulous people repeatedly taking advantage of more victims.
I investigate fraud, all types of frauds.
Investigating Polston's driveway case, Chesterfield Police Detective Michael Bowser. He says there are 2 likely outcomes when he's brought onto contractor cases.
You pay them and they don't do any of the work at all, cut off all communications and everything, then that right there is an issue. That's a criminal issue.
The potential charges, construction fraud, and additional penalties if the victim is over 60 or an otherwise vulnerable adult. But if your would-be contractor leaves you like this,
they do some of the work but don't complete it, or the work is not good or shoddy, it typically is a civil issue.
And typically you have to resolve these breaches of contract without help from police, but not always. So there are circumstances where someone could do work poorly and still it could be a criminal matter potentially?
It could be, but it's hard for us to prove at times.
And what is the thing that's difficult to prove there?
Their intent.
Bowser tells me that is why it can sometimes take him several cases with the same perpetrator before he's able to bring charges. But even convictions rarely lead to much time behind bars, if any at all.
It's hard when we do see repeat offenders.
Take Farley, for instance. In 2007, he pleaded guilty to failure to perform construction in Hanover. The sentence, 3 years probation. In 2016, he pleaded guilty to construction fraud in Chesterfield. Again, 3 years probation. And Brian Talton, the man who Chesterfield police say they're investigating in connection to this paving job, is no longer even in Virginia. After pleading guilty to charges of drug possession and falsely identifying himself to law enforcement, last month Talton was extradited from the Riverside Regional Jail back to West Virginia. He's facing a charge there for probation violation in connection to his 2020 conviction for conspiracy to commit financial exploitation of an elderly person. It's one of at least a half dozen similar fraud and contracting fraud convictions court records show he's racked up between 1996 and now across Pennsylvania, Maryland, and West Virginia.
The whole reason I wanted to reach out to you guys is I don't want this to happen to anyone else.
And still out thousands, these grieving families want to ensure others pick the right person for the job.
Get their business card, their name, tell them you will get back in touch with them. Nothing has to be done that day. If it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
Now, I did request an interview with Talton from jail while he was at the Riverside Regional Jail on his Petersburg case, but did not get a response, and none of his attorneys provided comment.
And as for Farley, we have just confirmed he was arrested in Hoffler's case. I did try to contact him before the arrest, but he never responded. Right now, we're working to learn when he will have that first court appearance.
And I think, Roland, what this is indicative of, as we saw in speaking to the detectives on these cases, is just how long it can take for this investigative process.
It can, and just as we learned today, it can speed up in moments' notice.
Yes, and when you least expect it. So if you are trying to avoid this happening to you, maybe you have a home improvement project in mind, or you may have already fallen victim to a similar scam. We do have a comprehensive guide that we've put together along with this story on our website, and you can see it on our Home Improvement Horrors page. Eric?